Hello everyone. Today's story is called The Crayon Man. It is the true story of the invention of Crayola crayons. The author of the story is Natasha Bebo and the illustrations are by Stephen Salerno. It's a really interesting story. I think you'll enjoy it because we all use crayons. They're very, very useful for school. And I know that a lot of you do use Crayola crayons and Crayola twistables. So this is the story of their invention. Enjoy. You can see here in the end pages all the pictures of the different coloured crayons. The Crayon Man. Once there was a man who saw colour everywhere. He noticed the yellow-orange petals of the black-eyed Susans in his garden. He marvelled at the rich scarlet-red tones of the cardinal's feathers. He admired the deep blue greens of the waves in the sea. Colour made him really, really happy. But all day long at work, all he saw was black. Black dust, black tar, black smoke, black ink, black dye, black shoe polish. Because his company sold carbon black, a new kind of pigment or coloured substance made from the soot of burning oil and natural gas. People used it in printing inks, electric sheet lamps, and stove and shoe polish. It also made rubber car tires last much longer. His name was Edwin Binney, and he was an inventor. He worked with his cousin, C. Harold Smith. Together, they were Binney and Smith. Harold was a great salesman. He loved to travel the world. Edwin was curious. He had a knack for listening and making what people needed. Edwin invented a new kind of inexpensive slate pencil that wrote very smoothly. It was grey. Children loved it. He invented a kind of chalk that wasn't dusty and didn't crumble. It was white. Teachers loved it. He invented a wax crayon that would write on wood and paper packaging. It was really, really black. People loved it. Paper was inexpensive in the 1800s, so children wrote with slate pencils or chalk on slates. So when everyone, including Edwin's wife Alice, told him that children needed better, cheaper crayons, he listened. They said, "The crayons we have are big, dull, and clumsy. The lumps of coloured clay only make fat, clunky lines. And the artists' crayons from Europe are far too expensive. They crumble and break easily. Some are even poisonous." So Edwin's wife Alice, she used to be a school teacher, so she knew what children needed. She encouraged Edwin to invent the crayons. Edwin thought about his company's inventions. When you drew a picture with grey slate pencil, it rubbed off at the drop of a hat. When you drew a picture with their white chalk, it smudged everywhere. If you drew a picture with Edwin's new really black crayon, it was, well, really black. None of these inventions was any good for drawing colour. So Edwin listened and Edwin invented. In a small stone mill in Pennsylvania, in a top secret lab, Edwin's team experimented. How could they make better, stronger crayons? Melted paraffin wax? Perhaps? The first coloured crayons invented in Europe were made from a mixture of charcoal and oil, so they broke easily. To make stronger crayons, Edwin tried using wax instead. Now for the crayon colours. grinding, grinding, grinding up rocks and minerals into fine powders. Mixing, mixing, slate for grey, earth for yellow, red and brown, perhaps. Oh yes, and lapis for blue. A lapis is a type of blue rock. Pounding, sifting and heating the coloured powders. Would they be bright enough? Ground up rocks and minerals made bright pigments for crayons. Red iron oxide for red, yellow iron oxide for yellow, varied shades of red iron oxide for brown, carbon black for black, zinc oxide for white, and imported ultramarine made from lapis lazuli for blue. They came home covered in colour. What a great picture. They experimented some more and discovered a pinch of this pigment, a sploosh of that one, a little hotter, a little cooler, and voila! Lots of different shades. Now there were greens, oranges, violets and pinks too. Edwin came home covered in colour. To make orange, green and violet, chemists blended various pigments and clays. Some minerals change colour when heated, plus the length of time the mixtures were left to cool created different colours too. In a large tub at the mill, Edwin's team measured out the ingredients: melted wax, clay to thicken, something for texture, coloured powders, each in just the right amount every time to make a top secret formula. Slowly, carefully, stirring by hand, they poured the special formula into thin crayon-shaped molds, smaller than any other inventor's, just the right size for children's hands. The mixture cooled and hardened. Edwin watched and Edwin waited. Children might eat or chew the crayons and get sick, so Edwin's team experimented to find new, safe, non-toxic colours and materials. Finally, one summer evening in June 1903, Edwin came home covered in colour and announced that he'd invented a new kind of coloured crayon. But what should he call it? Alice had an idea. She said, let's mix the French word cray for stick of chalk and the word ola from the word oleaginous, meaning oily like, the oily texture of the crayon wax, to invent a new word, Crayola. Crayola. Edwin listened. Binney and Smith shipped out the first Crayola crayon boxes, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, brown and black, 8 coloured crayons for only a nickel. Edwin waited. Would children like them? Children did. Now they could draw a tiny green caterpillar or the big blue sky. Their drawings wouldn't smudge and they wouldn't rub out. They were bright and could last a long, long time. By the 1900s, inventors had figured out how to make cheaper paper from wood pulp, so children could now draw on paper instead of just slate. Excitement over the new colourful invention spread like wildfire. Admirers from far and wide flocked to marvel at Binney and Smith's inventions at the St. Louis World Fair. The company's dustless chalk even won a gold medal. Proudly, Edwin and Harold showed it off, especially on their new Crayola crayon boxes. Every day, Edwin brought colourful bouquets from his garden to inspire the Crayola team. They made crayons in even more different shades and later asked children to help name some of them. To celebrate their 90th anniversary, Crayola held a colour naming competition. The 6-year-old winner coined Tropical Rainforest. Other colour names created by children included Robin's Egg Blue and Tickle Me Pink and Macaroni and Cheese. At last, because of Edwin Binney, the man who saw colour everywhere, who had a knack for listening and making what people needed, children all around the world would reach out for just the right shade to draw anything. And if you look here, you can see some of the names of some of the crayons. So there's a few there that I think are really good. Wisteria, Razzmatazz, Wild Watermelon, Purple Mountain's Majesty. Just a few of the names of some of the Crayola crayons, and we can see the children enjoying using them. I hope you enjoyed the story, girls, and you learned something from this story. Bye.